Hello, my Asian friends living in Asia or else any other part of the world right now because of your random XYZ reasons. I am your Asian friend living, residing, and thriving in South Asia. Asian friends, we have already explored some of our Asian countries, which are like Japan, India, Thailand, Sri Lanka, from the lens of this common ancient Asian practice of ancestor worship. If you guys want, then you can check those out first. But for this particular video, we will be focusing on another Asian country, Vietnam. And we will be seeing from the lens of ancestor worship how exactly Vietnam does it, right? Asian friend, I have already told you many a times in my previous videos also that even though as Asians we do this common ancient Asian practice of ancestor worship, but it might differ on the basis of several factors, and that is why Vietnamese people way of doing the ancestor worship or else their ghost festival is known as Vu Lan. Vu Lan festival, though, is a Vietnamese version of doing ancestor worship or else the celebration of ghost festival. But when I was researching about this topic, I thought and felt that Vietnamese people actually in their own beliefs and the way they do this practice are standing out a little bit from their fellow Asian crowd. You know why? Because during the Vu Lan festival. Of course, this is celebrated on the 15th day of the 7th month of the lunar year. They do this ancestor worship practice where the entire 24 hours are dedicated to any member of their family who have actually died and moved on to another realm. Of course, this is one thing which is common with other fellow Asian countries, but where they stand out is that unlike their fellow Asian countries, Vietnamese tend to remember and respect their ancestors during the good times also, during the auspicious days or auspicious festivals also. Like for example, not just during Vu Lan festival, they also tend to start the celebration of Tet festival, which is celebrated during the Lunar New Year. Right, during that time Vietnamese people tend to perform this practice of ancestor worship. So this is what makes the Vietnamese idea or else the Vietnamese way of doing the ancestor worship stand out, because unlike other fellow Asians, they do not remember their ancestors just during one particular time of the year. They keep on remembering them or paying the respect to their ancestors whenever, wherever possible. Good event, bad event, doesn't matter. They will always respect and remember their ancestors. And that is why, apart from Vu Lan festival, they do it during the death anniversaries or anyone's anniversary, whenever there is a big event, during Lunar New Year, whatever, whichever thing is possible, they will start their day or their occasion by respecting their ancestors. So this is what makes them stand out. And during the Vu Lan festival, of course, just like any of the East Asian or Southeast Asian countries, Vietnamese also set up altars for their ancestors, where in front of those altars, they first of all light the incense and offer their ancestors fruits, flowers, vegetables, rice, whatever they might need in their next realm. And apart from that, Vietnamese people also make worldly things like motorbikes, cars, hospitals, houses, whatever a person might need in their next life from paper, and they offer it in front of those altars, believing that their ancestors might have got those things. And you know why they do this practice? Because as per Vietnamese, they do not believe that someone was living here, they died, and they just moved on to another realm where they're just like a ghost roaming around. Unlike so many other Asian countries, what they believe is a person is who was living in this realm, right, with all the amenities or luxuries possible, they might also need it in the another realm, because people just don't die, they just change their realms. So that is why anyone who is from particular family, they are responsible to provide whatever their ancestors might need in the another realm, what they were using in this particular realm when they were alive and with them, right? So because of that, they do this practice. And apart from that, there is one more practice which is quite dying these days, which was to offer some money, paper made money from or maybe some money in those altars, which was actually earned through the ancestral land. But because of the changing times, this practice is not being followed that much. And apart from that, there is another change with which Vietnamese society is saying is that earlier Vietnamese people used to keep the name tablets in the ancestor altars, but nowadays people are not keeping the name tablets. Instead, they have switched the ritual, and they have replaced the tablets from the photographs of their ancestors who have moved on to another realm post their death. Behind Vulan festival celebration in the Vietnamese society, there is a folklore which dates back to the time when Buddha was walking this earth, right? So one of his disciples was one day meditating, and during his meditation, in his mind's eye, he saw that his mother, who has actually passed on and have died, is asking for help and literally burning in hellfire. She was asking for help, which included some food, and that is why in the mind's eye, monk tried to provide his mother in distress with some bowl of rice, and for some reason or the other, the hellfire just burned down that bowl of rice, and anything he was trying to provide to help his mother in his mind's eye, it was burned down to ashes. And then that disciple, quickly in distress, decided to discuss this incident with Buddha. And Buddha, being Buddha, he suggested that on the day of full moon, some of us monks, including him, should actually perform some rituals, especially chanting of the mantras, or the mantras which might help that particular monk's mother in the next realm. So from this day onwards, which actually came out to be the 15th day of the 7th month of the lunar year, this practice of celebrating the Vulan festival actually started, right? On this day, Vietnamese people believe that for 24 hours, the hell gates are open, or else the next realm gates are open, and their ancestors who have moved on to the another realm come back to their ancestral homes or earth for 24 hours, and that is why they celebrate this festival. And during this festival, right, they offer the offerings which might be helpful for their ancestors in the next realm, or maybe if at all they are distressed soul, then may be helpful in the hellfire. So that is why they perform the rituals and offer the offerings. And apart from that, there is one more thing which is specifically done only during Vulan festival in Vietnam, is that people put up red roses or else stick some red roses on the clothes, especially when their mother is alive, and they put up white roses and stick white roses onto their dresses if at all their mother has moved on to the next realm, in remembrance of the fact that this celebration of Vulan festival, or else any of the rituals which are performed during this Vulan festival, was actually triggered by the distressed monk's mother. So this is what the idea, or else the philosophy behind the celebration, Vietnamese celebration of, or else the providing the respect and guidance to the ancestors way of Vietnamese ancestors. So this is the actual idea behind why exactly Vietnamese also do this common ancient practice of ancestor worship. And because Vietnamese believe that their ancestors do not die, they just change their realms. So of course, whenever a Vietnamese living person is offering some things which might be helpful for their ancestors in the next realm, they also do believe, just like their other Asian counterparts, is that of course the guidance, protections, blessings, offering, and sometimes future predictions might also will come from their ancestors from the next realm. Though many of the Vietnamese and rest of the people believe that ancestor worship is a practice which was introduced to the Vietnamese society by China during their occupation era through Confucianism, but let me break it to you, my friend, before Confucianism even came into existence or became popular in the Vietnamese or any of the societies, ancestors of Vietnam, or else ancestors of Vietnamese people, were already doing this practice of ancestor worship, which was known as animism. So all in all, the practice of ancestor worship is indigenous to the land of Vietnam and also foreign to the land of Vietnam, all at the same time, simply because right now, whatever rituals or beliefs Vietnamese people have behind this practice of ancestor worship is somewhere or the other amalgamation of animism and Confucianism. Confucianism taking up more of the rituals, or maybe the influence of Confucianism is much more higher. And that is why, if we were to compare how exactly the Vietnamese way of doing the ancestor worship is similar to their fellow Asians, then East Asians or Southeast Asian countries do this practice of setting up the altars for ancestors, putting up the name tablets, putting up the incenses in front of those name tablets, offering the offerings, including fruits, vegetables, flowers, bowl of rice, whatever you call it or you name it. That is something which is common between Vietnam and rest of the Asian countries, right? So these are the commonalities between Vietnam and East Asian and Southeast Asian countries. But if we were to figure out how exactly Vietnamese society is related to South Asian society or rest of the Asia, then they perform the practice of ancestor worship during the full moon and on the 7th month of the lunar year, which is somewhere or the other a month where almost most of the South Asian countries also dedicate a time to remember and respect their ancestors. So this way Vietnamese society and rest of the Asian societies are similar. Where exactly the Vietnamese society stand out is in their belief that ancestors do not die, they are not roaming around, they have just changed the realm. This is the first thing. The second thing is that because they believe in the Vulan festival, which got triggered because one of the Buddha's disciple monks saw in his mind's eye that his mother was in distress. So in commemoration or else respect and remembrance of the mothers, not just died mothers, living mothers, Vietnamese people put up red roses when their mother is alive as a sign of respect, and white roses in the and stick it to their clothes when their mother is not there. So this is the way Vietnamese society stands out. And apart from that, yeah, they just believe in the exchange and barter. Usually in the other societies, the other Asian countries believe that because the ancestors have changed their form, they have moved into another realm, they have become something very, very powerful, or else very different being or very powerful being. But in Vietnamese society, when I was figuring out or trying to research about the practice and belief behind ancestor worship, what I found was that Vietnamese people are doing a fair exchange of goods. Like if at all, they're offering the offerings to their ancestors, which can be helpful in the next realm. In exchange, Vietnamese living people are expecting that they will be provided with guidance, protection, blessing, and maybe sometimes the prediction of future. So that is what makes the Vietnamese belief and the way they do their ancestor worship stand out. But at the end of the day, all of us Asians are doing this practice, and there are so many similarities in the way we do it. And why still in this day and age we want to prefer to be divided instead of being united? I think we should start at least thinking about uniting ourselves and integrating each other, so much so that our continent Asia becomes the best continent to live in on this planet Earth. And that explains everything. And unity is the best policy, at least for the continent of Asia. Already there are so many Asian countries who are seeing a very popular wave all across the world. Why not all other Asian countries also get this beautiful chance while their other fellow Asian countries are already getting popular? That is what my motivation is. And for this video, that's all I have. And of course, as promised, I will be coming up with yet another Asian country, and we will be trying to analyze that Asian country's practice, a way of doing things from the lens of this practice, common Asian ancient practice of ancestor worship. Until then, you can just have fun and spread my message if you like, and if you don't like, please leave a comment and let us know. And if you have something specific which can be helpful and informative for all of us, including me, then you can let us know in the comment section and educate us on this topic. Okay, bye.